This is a brief look at Google's Classroom from both the teacher point of view and the student point of view. What we have on the right hand side of the screen is a student logged in called teststudent@wheatleypark.org, and over here on the left hand side of the screen, this is me. So the teacher sees the classes which they've created, and there's a home button, and on there I can switch between classes if I want to, or I can just click on the panel that's been created for a class. Each class, you've got the little 3 buttons here that allows you to rename or delete a class. If you delete a class, it's permanent and you get warned about that before you do it. Each class has a folder in the Google Drive, and you've got a link to the folder here. We'll come back to that in a few moments. So I've got 2 classes here. This is a real one with real students enrolled in it. So we'll be using this one and an additional one just to show the class creation procedure. So we just look at how to create a class. So you click on the plus button, create class, give it a name. This is the name that the folder will have in Google Drive, so this is how it's going to be identifiable. So I'll call this test class 2. I'm going to delete this one after this demo, so it's just a throwaway one. Let's say it was a GCSE class. So that takes you straight to the view for that particular class. There's one customization that you can do, and that's changing the photo. You can't choose your own photos at the moment, but you can choose any of these stock ones which make it look a little bit more special perhaps. Okay, so there we go. At the moment this course has no students in it, so the first thing you'd want to do, I guess, is to add some students. So you can click on students. There's a couple of ways to add students. You can click on the add students and browse your Google Apps directory and add students that way by selecting them. You should be able to add them by selecting a group if you've got your students in the group, so you can add them all in one go, but every time I do that at the moment I get an error, which is something I've reported. Or you can distribute this code here. So if I copy that code, and if I go into the student view, if the student has no classes whatsoever, they get a thing saying you're signed into Google Classroom, and they get invited to enter a code if they've not already been added by you to the class. If you want to add them by the code, or the student does, you click on the plus button as a student and you put in that code. So I can just paste it in and click on join. And you can see on the teacher view that test student has joined this class, and now I am in that class, and this test student is now in a member of 2 classes. So I can switch to physics if I want to, or I can go to home, and you can see there's now 2 classes for this student. So that's all there is to joining a class. A couple of caveats associated with this. At the moment you can only have 1 teacher per class. Given that we have either 2 or 3 teachers per class, that's a bit of an issue, because you don't want students having hundreds of different classes on here, because they take I don't know, 10 or so different subjects. You don't want them having 20. It's going to get quite confusing if everybody were to start using this right now, because each teacher has to create a class. We really need to have 1. So accepting that, adding students is simply enough. So we go back to the stream for this new class. What you can do as a teacher is make an announcement. If I click into that class of the student as well, so you can see what happens. Welcome to this test class. And when you make an announcement or a post, A bit like in Google Plus, you can upload stuff from your computer, you can add stuff from your Google Drive, you can add a YouTube video, or you can put in a link to something, website for example. So let's put in something from YouTube. I'm a chemist, so let's have a chemistry video. Let's see what we come up. Let's just pick a random video, and if we post that now, you'll see that that comes up pretty much immediately for the student when you post. And as a student, I can add a comment. Okay, and you see that comes up more or less straight away in the common thread for the teacher as well. Equally, the student can do pretty much the same thing. So the student can share something from their drive, from YouTube, or upload something, or share a link, just like you would do if you were using a private Google Plus community. So let's pick a YouTube video, let's pick a different chemistry video, or you can put in the URL rather than searching. Post, and you'll see that that comes up pretty much straight away for the teacher and anybody else who would be a member of that class. So you can have a discussion, a bit like you would do on Google Plus. So that's the announcements, and that's all the student can do. They can post stuff and reply to stuff that's in the discussion thread. A teacher can set assignments, and this is something that will appear as a student as an assignment and something that they will have to hand in. So title of this assignment is create a slide presentation on the development of nuclear physics, whatever. And you can put in more stuff there and make a long description of the assignment if you want. And then you can, again, you can upload a file, you can attach something, a resource that you've got in your Google Drive, you can add a YouTube video, or you can attach a link. So these are resources that will go with that student. If you attach something from your drive, what you'll get is the option of, if I just pick something random, vocabulary list, okay, whatever that is, students can view the file, so that's a read-only file for all the students to look at. Students can edit the file, which means it's a collaborative document for them all to do something on, make a copy for each student. If you select that option, from the ones that I've tried to do so far, just be prepared to have a little bit of a wait the student side, maybe 5 or 6 minutes before the student can actually view that assignment, because what goes on in the background, of course, is that assignment, it's creating documents for each student. Now, I've not tried this with a class of say 30 students, I've tried it with a few, and it does take quite a while for that assignment to be viewable by the student. It'll appear in the common stream, but if they click on it, it'll just tell them to come back later. So this is something to do not on the spur of the moment in front of the students, but something perhaps before a lesson. So set an assignment maybe at home, or half an hour before a lesson begins, and then you won't have students saying it doesn't work. Maybe the time, the lag there will be reduced. So we can assign that assignment. I'm not going to put any particular thing attached on it, just to make it a little bit quicker. So if I click on assign, you'll see for the student that assignment turns up, and I didn't select any date, so it's now due tomorrow, so it comes up with a little nice red exclamation mark saying it's due tomorrow. If I click on this assignment, there's nothing there at the moment. I can add a comment, so I can have a conversation with the teacher about this assignment. So how do I do this? And if I click on the assignment as the teacher, what I should have is, and I can see it there, how do I do this? You'll see a question associated with that assignment coming back from that student. This conversation with the teacher is only visible between the individual student and the teacher, rather than going into the whole group discussion thread. The student on the assignment panel can add something directly from their Google Drive, or they can add a link, or they can upload a file, or they can create directly from within here a document presentation. So let's create a presentation, and it'll appear there. And the nice thing about this is that it gives the document the title of the assignment, and it puts the name of the student next to it if they do this. Or if you create a copy of the document for everybody, it does put the name in there as well. So if I click on that document, you say create a slides presentation on the development of nuclear physics, and it's got the name at the end, which you can click on rename and scroll across. There you go, test student's name. Okay, so call that nuclear physics. Just close that up. So that student has this in here now. Okay, that slides presentation is it is only in the student's drive at the moment. The teacher can't see it, can't do anything with it until you click on turn in. So I'm going to turn that in. There is the option of adding a note to the teacher, and the student can add multiple documents here. It doesn't just have to be one. And click on turn in. At the point at which the student turns it in, this now becomes read-only for the student, and it becomes editable by the teacher. It turns the owner of the document into the teacher. Let's see how this is. So this now comes in as turned in, so I can put in a grade here, and at the moment it's just out of 0, 1, out of 20, out of 50, out of 100. Hopefully the range of grading options will increase. Now what will appear here, but not instantly, will be that document, and I'll be able to click on that document, look at that document and give it comments. We might come back to that. But if I go to a different class, so as the teacher I'll go to this one that I've called physics. Test student is also in this class, and this time I put in a document which I created a copy for each student, so they've got their own individualized copy. So if I go to as the student, go to the physics class, so they've got this write an essay on relativity, which is this one here. What you can see now is the document that I sent to them, so they don't have to create a document. You can send them a document, it might just be something, a blank document saying physics essay or whatever, and it's put the name of the student at the end. So this now is a document that's owned by me, which is an exact copy of that one. This, however, does take a few moments to appear student end. In fact, by a few moments I mean 5 or 6 minutes in reality is what I've found. Okay, sometimes it's been quicker, sometimes it's been slower, but there is a little bit of lag, and of course you can have the conversation with the teacher. So what's going on drive side? So if I go into the student's drive, you'll see that there is a folder called Classroom being created in the student's Google Drive, and within here you'll find a folder for each of the classes which they've been enrolled on. So the one that we've just done is Test Class 2, and you can see that the slides presentation that we've created has been automatically put into Test Class 2. The student doesn't have to think about organizing the work if they create the work within Classroom. And if I go into the Physics one, you'll find a copy of that document which I fired out to the student. So that's their own copy of that document now. In terms of the teacher's Google Drive, they get something similar, a Classroom folder, and they get a folder for each class that they take. So if I go for the Physics one, if you send out a document to a student, that is called template, and you'll find it's there. So that's this here. If I go back to the one that we've just done, Test Class 2, and every assignment that you create for a class creates a folder. So in Test Class 2, create a slides presentation on, it was nuclear physics, I think, and you can see that now the thing that the student submitted has appeared in my drive, create a slides presentation. So with a little bit of luck, if we go back to the other presentation, Test Class 2, wasn't it? And if I click on this, you can return the folder, but normally in the past I've seen something appear here. But there we go. Give it a few moments and it does materialize. So once you've selected it, you'll see the common thread and you'll see the document that has been submitted. So you can just click onto it, or you can go to that folder within the drive that's got all of the things to do with that assignment in. Anyways, it's pretty easy to use. Just be aware that the setting assignment thing, there's a little bit of a lag that goes on there. That's it.